Hey everybody, my name is Byron. I'm with Eklund Avenue, and I'm joined here by a panel of experts in the theme today. I've got Victor, Richard, Renee, Nathaniel, Deanna, and Carlos, and we're all part of a team that is actually perfect for this topic because we deal with this theme every single day. Um, and the topic for today is remote rock stars. So in just a few minutes, we're going to get into some questions and tips and tricks and different things that we can talk about to develop this theme and to try to understand it more. But before we do that, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. We've got this Hangout mechanism, and inside the Hangout mechanism, you as a viewer are able to raise questions and make comments using the Q&A piece. So if you're able to get into the YouTube part, I think that inside the window there's a little link where you can actually go to the Hangout side and actually pose your questions. I think there's even some other options like you can applause and different things like that. So really, we'll invite all of you, anybody, to ask questions, and that'll just make our call even better. So I said that the topic for today is called remote rock stars. And that's us. We're basically trying to say that we are the remote rock stars. You should listen to us. Also, hopefully there are other comments that could be made outside of this call right here to enhance what we're talking about. But like I said before, we do this every single day. Our company is 100% distributed. Even Deanna right now, who is in our what we call our Eklund Avenue office, even that office is distributed because so much of the team is in our homes, in co-working spaces, in coffee shops, in an office outside of their house or in a different part of their house. We don't all go to a central location to meet. So even when Deanna is in our Eklund Avenue office in Nashville, she still is having to incorporate remote things into her daily schedule. So today we're just going to talk about some of the tools that we use and some of the techniques and some of the philosophies that we follow that make us remote rock stars and make the best of this remote experience. So as anybody can understand, being 100% distributed presents some difficulties, some challenges. And some of those might be that you don't get to see the person that you're working with all the time. You don't get to smell them, thank goodness sometimes. You don't have to walk around. You're not going to bump into them at the water cooler because you're not in the same building, you're not in the same city or even the same country sometimes. You don't have the ability to have those walk-by conversations that end up turning into longer meetings. Sometimes you lose some context. For some, you might lose some productivity because maybe you're used to the constant whip from a manager or a supervisor constantly trying to be the taskmaster and trying to make you keep on going. We just don't have that. We've got to depend on our own work ethic, our own internal drive to keep going. You also have other things like technology. What happens when the internet goes down? Well, not much you can do. What happens when there's a lot of background noise? What do we do to mitigate some of those things? So that's kind of the topic for today. And once again, I want to encourage anybody to ask questions in the Q&A section. We'll be watching that and trying to answer those and re-ask those questions as we go. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just ask the panel, what do you all think are is one tool that we use? Just follow tools for right now. What's one tool that is very important to make your remote experience all that it should be, all that it needs to be?
I think I'm going to be the first one to answer that. I think enabling webcams when we have our live meetings enable us to have a more deeper connection with each other. It just helps, I don't know, it helps like have a more intimate understanding of the problem we're trying to solve. So that helps a lot, like seeing the face of the person, because that could be taken as a disadvantage. The fact that we're far away from each other and that we don't have that level of engagement, but probably having to turn the webcams on, has helped a lot improve the level of engagement when we're working on a project.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hey, Deanna, are you about to go?
Yeah.
About to give one? All right, so while Deanna's talking, everybody turn off your webcams. Just to see how it is.
It's an experiment.
Yes.
All right. So the tool that I think is integral to our success as a remote team, well, obviously there are several, but I really, really like the chat app that we've been using, Slack. For us as a team, I think it has created a really great way for us to be able to communicate in real time together as a group for like quick and easy topics. That is our go-to thing, is just to hop on Slack. I also love the integration aspect of Slack. We can easily spin up a Hangout. We can have information that is flowing into our chat from elsewhere, like our Trello board and some other tools that we use. So for me, Slack is a big one. So I'll pass it off to whoever's going next now.
Cool. Deanna, did you feel, while you were talking, did you feel like people were listening to you, and did you feel connected to your audience, us?
Not as much.
Not as much.
Yeah.
I don't know if we proved a point there, but I agree with both of you. I think that webcams are super important because you know that I'm listening to you because I'm looking at you.
Yeah, exactly.
You can, like, here. I'm going to look at my phone. Do I look like I'm looking at my phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Or here, I'm going to start coding over here.
Yeah, you
So I look like I'm
really engaged with the meeting when that kind of thing happens. But not only does it give us an ability to see what's going on the other side, but it also allows for a level connection. Just because you see their face, you see their reactions,
facial expression.
facial expressions. Oftentimes when I'm in meetings, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, but I'm not saying anything because it's not something I need to audibly communicate. It's a sort of side comment that says, yeah, I totally agree, or whatever. So yeah, those are visual is, the phrase is a picture is 1,000 words. Picture's worth 1,000 words, and when we're doing remote sessions, video is key in our environment.
I think in our case, a picture, because that's what you get if you don't have the video on. You just got a picture. I think the picture in that case is worth about 3 words, and the video is worth 1,000.
Yeah.
In that case,
Right.
because the picture is like, you've seen that picture before.
Yeah.
If anybody's been with us long enough, like, Victor hasn't changed his avatar in 3 years. So it says about 2.5 words to me because, I don't know, I might get distracted by the fake beard or something like that. But, and I kind of hijacked Deanna's point. Deanna, you had an excellent point about Slack, and Slack is hands down one of our most useful tools. When I come to work in the morning, when I sit down to my desk, the first thing I do is open up Slack. Yeah, actually, I might be a little bit of a workaholic. I actually will wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do when I get out of bed is I look on my phone and look at Slack, and I look to see, okay, what did Saul do at 4 o'clock in the morning, or who's been committing code in the middle of the night. Not that I want people to do that, but it's always interesting to see, because I'll go through and I'll look at every single channel. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but since I'm trying to keep a bird's eye view on everything, I'd actually go down every single channel and look, and I'm like completely nosy and excited to see what's happening. Slack is huge. We used to use HipChat, which HipChat's great too. I think HipChat has come a long way, but we kind of left HipChat by the wayside when we found Slack.
Yeah.
And like some of the things that you mentioned are super important. It's like an information radiator for us. It's just constantly radiating information. Another thing that I love to see is and I don't want to steal somebody's idea, so I'll just throw this out there, and then somebody can mention it if they want to. But bonusly, I just love to see the bonusly comments, so excellent. What else? What other tools do we use to make our remote experience awesome?
I think that the calendar is pretty important because it's difficult to organize teams when you are not with them.
Oh, team meetings is huge.
Yeah. And especially that feature Google Calendar has, where you can see everyone else's calendar and see what they have up there, so you can organize meetings better. And I know, for example, for the developers, this isn't that important because most of the meetings are like magically appear for them there or something. They don't, some of them don't even check the calendar, but for the rest of the team or for a team perspective, the calendar is huge because it's really, really hard to organize everyone.
I'm going to jump in on the calendar and Hangouts and mention there is a little-known feature of Hangouts that if you get the right login or you get to the right screen, it'll show your upcoming events. And so for those of us who are sitting in meetings pretty much all day, every day, like myself, it tells me all the events. There's a login page that you can get to that tells me all the upcoming events based on my calendar. And it provides a link for every one of them, which is really useful. So when I just disconnect from one meeting, it says, oh, here's your next meeting. It's going to be at 2 o'clock or whatever. And so I just know to click on that link, and it automatically opens for me.
Cool. So, I'd love to know what link that is. If you find it, then
yeah, I can get it to you. I'll get it to you.
So before we go too far, we just got three very big tools. We can keep on talking about tools, but I wanted to go back to revisit those three, and just get some ideas from everyone about how can we improve or make the video awesome? How can we make Slack awesome? How can we utilize Slack to its potential? How can we utilize our video camera to the potential? How can we, and then the camera? How do we get the camera to be? No, sorry, not the camera. The calendar. How do we get the calendar to be so useful? How do we utilize it to its full potential? Any of those three. Just throw out some ideas.
Which one do you want to start with? They're all. I mean, I've got answers.
Start with the camera. Start with the camera. How can we make that the best it could possibly be?
All right. So I'd love to answer that. There's a couple things for me, and there's starts with big and goes to small. From a camera standpoint, the more light you have behind you, the worse it is. You want light on your face. And it's really hard. Richard's doing a demo here. I actually just installed some track lighting up above my head to make it a little easier.
What'd you do?
Yeah, installed track lighting.
You paid someone to come into your house and modify
No,
your
I did it
structure.
myself. I did it myself.
But
yeah, you can see if I turn off the lighting, it looks a lot worse. Now all we're getting from my face is the light from the screen, and just putting in some track lighting. I got it from IKEA years ago, but it just sure helps having that little extra light.
Carlos is turning around to see.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how to improve this on my room.
Yeah, it's tricky.
You might have to move the desk.
Yeah, you have to do that, man. I did that.
Yes.
That's one of the next things I think I'm going to have to do myself, is because I'm still getting this light from in the mornings, especially if I'm in meetings in the mornings. The light is just so, it looks like I have a halo above my head, and I don't want a halo.
But
Deanna's light is
that
the
takes
best,
me
by
to
the way.
another. That takes you to another tip, is position of the camera. Where you position the camera is pretty important. Not just the lighting and stuff, but where you put it, because you put it in a way in which your head
yeah, you want your head
It
center, top, middle. This is a laptop, so if I were to actually put this camera on the desk, the laptop on the desk, then I'm looking down at everyone.
Yeah.
And that looks really, really bad. I mean, I'm not, and ideally, and I'm layering stacks of books and stuff to make this happen. But ideally, you want the camera right at eye level so that you're looking and you're looking at this camera or right below the camera to the screen. And that way people aren't thinking you're like totally distracted by, you're engaged with the meeting. So yeah, absolutely. Having the camera at eye level makes a huge difference and very useful, very helpful.
That something come to my mind right now, and I would like to ask you guys, what do you think if someone is in the Hangout but is seen in another place? It's like I know Byron have another monitor in front of him, and if he's seeing the monitor, it looks like he's not hearing what we are talking about.
Yeah.
Here,
So-
I'm gonna. Right now, I've got the Hangout window on the monitor, and right above my monitor, I've got the camera. So I'm gonna move the Hangout window to the other monitor. So here, there. Now I'm looking at the other monitor. I'm watching the Hangout. I'm engaged in the call, but I don't want to have it that way because I don't want you all to think that I'm coding, but I also don't want to have to see myself looking off to the side. So I'm gonna move it over here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's never going to be exactly perfect because I can see that my eyes are still kind of looking. I'm looking at myself talking basically. But
Yeah.
if I look at there, now I'm looking at the camera. But I don't want to look at the camera all day.
Yeah.
But I was going to mention that Deanna's lighting is awesome. Deanna's lighting is probably the best out of this call. Yeah, it's because Deanna has a huge window right next to her face and is illuminating.
In here at the office.
I just saw the Batman building. And your background is darker than your face. So
That's right.
So that's great. Here's a question that while we're on this subject, and this is a philosophical thing, and it probably addresses or probably affects a lot of different things that we're going to talk about. Why? I'm just impressed that Nathaniel would actually spend a weekend or whatever installing this track lighting. Why would somebody put that much effort into just lighting up your face? Like, who cares? Who wants to? I mean, why?
I can give you an answer, but I'll let someone else try first.
Well, I think especially from the perspective of an engagement manager, we more than anybody are on video calls all day long. And also the position that we're in, I think we probably feel the need to be super connected. That's kind of our role on the project, is to be that connecting point and be super supportive of the rest of the team. So from my perspective, I feel like it's really important to be visually available to the team, and that means letting them, be able to see me and connect in that visual way.
Even if it's early in the morning and we haven't had our first cup of coffee.
Absolutely true. Yep. My team is me with messy hair and sleepy eyes.
Yeah, I would say on the other hand, and I get what you're saying, Deanna. I think that it definitely presents a much more professional image also to our clients when you're having to meet with them. But Richard, I think that Richard should feel the same way. And he's not having to interface as much with clients, but why should Richard want his video to look nice?
Well, just from a professional level of, you want to be professional about what you do. Whether you're a coder, QA, product owner, whatever it is that your role is, you want to be professional at it. And being remote, I mean, you wouldn't go to work in torn jeans and ripped T-shirt and stuff like that. And the same is true. You want to look professional. You want to look competent. You want to do your job well, because that's why we, that's just part of who we are. And with a remote environment, this is the best way of putting your foot forward, so to speak. And so, yeah, even if I was a developer, I'd still want to set up environments where I could do what I'm doing right now.
Richard, what do you think? Why should you want to have your video looking nice?
For one, for example, let's say I won't put myself as an example, but let's say I'm working with let's say Victor or Rene, and they don't have the setup, like really cool setup, it's like disengaging because they're not like putting attention to me, or like when we're speaking. So if they like put effort to themselves to look like their face is nice, not nice, but well lighted and stuff, I'll feel like we're actually doing a conversation, and not feeling like disconnected with them. So it'll help me feel connected with the conversation. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's important because I mean, we're remote working, and the most important part of remote working is communication. And if you're like doing the best way, and putting yourself in the best position for people to understand you, either visually or audio, which we haven't mentioned, microphone, which is a pretty important part. I think you'll feel like you're doing a great job at communicating. So that's why you should put like effort into aligning your camera and doing light stuff, and making sure that you look good on camera. Aside from the professional aspect that Nathaniel and Diana already mentioned.
I'll add one more aspect, and I think you can boil it down to the golden rule. It's not about you.
That's right.
It's not about me. So I also have track lighting right above my monitor here, and I've got it because I not because I need it. In fact, it's kind of annoying sometimes having lights in my face, just a little bit. I've gotten used to it, but it's not about me. It's about you. I want my video. I want my video to be excellent because I want you to have a good experience.
Yeah.
And since we've already mentioned microphone, that's the same thing. This microphone that I've got, I have looked and looked and looked and looked. Nathaniel has the same one. He actually inspired me to get this one. I bought this one. I spent extra money on this headset, not because it looks pretty, not because it's nice, not because it sounds good for me, because actually the headphones don't even sound that good compared to other headsets that I've had. It's because of the microphone. This microphone, the dogs can be barking in the background, and outside I've got 7 dogs, and they can all be barking outside, and you can't hear a thing. My 8-year-old can come in here and try to get my attention away. You'll never know it because this is a noise-canceling microphone, and it's not about me. I don't hear this microphone. It doesn't affect me in my day-to-day. It's for you. It's like what I am doing for you. And so the same thing is for the video. It's the golden rule. I'm doing to you what I would like for you to do for me. Is provide. I would like for you all to provide me with something nice to look at. We're all beautiful people. Let's light it up and make it sound good and make it look good. We probably beat that dead horse enough. So what about Slack? How can we make Slack the best it can possibly be?
Main thing I would say it's important to do is to communicate everything in the channel of the project, because that's going to keep everyone informed about what's happening, what's going on. Aside of that, we're already using a lot of integrations that add information to that kind of conversation we're going to have in those channels.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I love being able to quickly share a document or an image, like especially when we're reviewing designs. It's so easy just to pop something right in the channel, let the team give some feedback. So just tacking onto the whole integration.
Right. Not waiting until we have the daily meeting to say something. It just allows us to put our thoughts there straight away and get the communication going.
So, something that I would like to improve, that because I think that's the question, right, Byron? Something that how can we improve the use we do to Slack is to answer on time. Slack already provides things like sleep or stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're sleeping, but it's like you're busy. And usually when you see someone and it has like a green light, you guess that they're like available. And if you chat to them and they answer like 2 hours since you chat, it's awful. So it's always good if you're in a meeting, just put yourself there like you're busy, and people will know that they'll contact you, but they won't get a message like right away. So that's something that we might try to do to avoid that, because I've had that in the past.
I need to do that. I've actually never done that. I think that Slack automatically goes into sleep mode or away mode if your screensaver comes on. So I think it'd be a good idea, I'll do that too. I'll make that commitment to whenever I'm going to step away, I'll just switch Slack off or something like that. I remember I think it was your team, Richard, when we did a Slack integration or Hubot or something like that for a hackathon. You all created a BRB or something like that, or AFK, to solve that exact same problem. Cool. What else?
Take advantage of the integrations. Sometimes we all have to be reminded that we have to be at a meeting, and we can easily do this automatically by making sure that we schedule meetings on the right calendar that's associated to the group on which we're in. Sorry, to the project on which we're in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the same thing as Carlos. I think the key for Slack is the automation with integrations. Every time that you do a pull request, so you will notice that there's ready, so everyone is able to see that was successfully for the meetings. If there's a meeting that is coming, Slack notify us. So the key for us is to try to make it automatically for some common tasks. For example, we know that there is a meeting, but sometimes I forgot the meeting. But that's because maybe maybe Slack could tell me that I need to be in that meeting. So the automation of those kind of stuff is a key for us, and it's a huge plus that help us to be available at time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I do have a question here, and it's related with what someone said. Maybe let's see if we can get an answer here. But what do you guys think? Like, for example, we have a channel for each of the projects, right? Do you think that every decision, like small stuff that developers have to discuss and stuff like that, should all of them be like located on the central channel? I mean, because it's going to be noise, like for example, for a QA or for an engagement manager. Do you think that's like the best usage of Slack?
There are several things that normally developers discuss when they're pairing, or I myself do a lot of times that I talk to people in private messages. But I do think that the main decisions for the project or stuff that is important has to be in the channel, because that gives different values. For example, everyone like the engagement manager, the product owner, they know people is working there. They know they're doing something. They know the project's moving. If there are questions, the questions need to be asked there, because everybody needs to see the answer for that question, not only the person asking and stuff like that. But it's not like you have to talk everything in the channel. It's just like the important things.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the discussion around the problem at hand or the pairing session or whatever, that could totally be offline. But if some decision is made, if some blocker is run into, those are the pieces that need to automatically come into the main chat, which I think most of our projects are operating that way today. And I do feel like that is super effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll take I was going to say,
ahead,
sometimes I'll take a offline, it's a sidebar chat, and I'll just say, hey, we need to finish the. I'll just jump up to the main channel and say, all right, let's keep talking right up here. You
never know when something that's being discussed is actually valuable for somebody else on the team. Like I mentioned before, I'm pretty much I'm showering not showering. I'm monitoring each channel. Scouring. I'm monitoring each channel because I'm so excited about what's happening. A lot of times I'll run across a conversation in one project like Limeball that just interests me, and because it's there, I'm able to read up on it. And then if I notice something where somebody is needing some extra information, I can throw it out there. Or if they're looking for something and I just happen to remember that from 5 years ago, here's a link. So you never know, not just me, that this is actually this could be the case for so many on our team. that you've got a Scrum Master in your project. If the developers are working on this thing and the Scrum Master has seen that before, they already know the answer. They can just right there in the channel. And if that conversation is concealed in a private chat or something like that, then maybe no one ever has the chance to add value to that conversation. So, and also for no other reason, just know that Byron is really excited to see what's happening, and so I'm constantly just give me something to read in the morning. I've got nothing better to do. Okay, so let's talk about calendar. How can we use our calendars to the fullest potential as remote rock stars?
Keep it up to date.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Is that hard to
The
do?
other thing I would add. Oh no, that's really easy.
For me, that's.
But I would.
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, this is the main thing that I use to keep up with my work on a daily basis. I use Trello to keep track of like a to-do list, an overall to-do list. But on a daily basis, I use my calendar. So I have started blocking off time for task work in addition to meetings. So like if I'm going to write a blog post or if I'm going to work on something that doesn't necessarily directly apply to a project meeting, I'll just block that time. And sometimes I'll just have a small reminder directly on my calendar. But for me, that is the most efficient way. It's one place that I can go where I know exactly what my day expectation is. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Google Calendar and have been for quite a while. I just love all the integrations, like being able to attach a video meeting with the click of a link at the time that you're setting up a meeting invite, having such an effective integration of everyone else's schedule on my team. I just love it.
So
Yeah,
I really like being able to see everyone else's schedule. Especially when I'm trying to schedule something for Byron in particular, because your schedule is like slammed, and so having being able to go in there and say, oh, when I'm talking with a client or talking with someone, either a dev or a client, and saying, oh, well, let's see, we could schedule him. We can see your schedule. Yeah, sometime next month.
Schedule Byron next month sometime.
Yeah, but having the ability to see other people's schedules and what they've got on their calendar makes a huge difference.
I'm gonna add something else that I think would make a bigger difference. I think people should write the name of what they're actually doing at the moment, not just place yourself as busy for a certain block of time, because this allows, for example, certain people to maybe say, I could ping and maybe say, hey, Byron, I noticed that you're doing some homework for, I don't know, a course you're taking. Do you think maybe you could move that and we could have this other meeting in place? But if you just write that you're busy, that doesn't really give me value to me. So I think people should write what they're doing or what the block of time is up for.
I agree with that, but wouldn't discourage people doing that at least on the start, because if they don't have like the habit of putting every single thing that they're doing into their calendar, it's a good idea for them to at least start that they're busy in that block of time, and then move up and say, hey, I'm doing this specific thing in this specific time. I wouldn't discourage it, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean,
to put
it
what you're doing.
doesn't. We don't have to be. I'm not meaning to stalk people as well. I mean, if you could just write errands or something a little bit more specific than just busy, or homework or something like that, or study time, that kind of thing.
Well, the other thing that you can do on my schedule for study.
Yeah, the other thing that you can do, Carlos. I mean, I put busy down for my stuff generally, especially if it's personal, and
right.
And that's I feel that's pretty fair. And then just like sharing, because I have a Google Calendar that I use for my own personal stuff too, and I can integrate the two, so I can see when I'm busy on my personal calendar. So I add things to my personal calendar, and then I put busy on the work calendar. So that way I'm not sharing, oh, I'm taking this kid to the doctor's office or whatever. You guys don't need to know which doctor's
Right.
office my kid's going to and where they are. And yeah, that's not relevant. So
One thing that we've called attention to in the past few months, we actually have some incremental improvement that we need to be making for this too, and that is maker versus manager schedule. And we can actually exert our remote rock starness on this. And if you're a maker and you need a maker schedule, then maybe what you should do is use your Google Calendar and actually mark off certain hours of the day where you're just making, you're coding, or you're testing, and it's just like no man's land. That's something that we've talked about before, and that might help your team to program more meetings in the morning instead of trying to do them like all over the place during the day and interrupting your flow. So that's one way to help that. I have something like that where I have a time during my day where I devote to my personal training, and I call it study. It's on my calendar. It's at the very end of the day, and almost never I will almost never allow a meeting during that time because it's the only time that I've got before I have to leave the office and go back to the family. Once I'm with the family, there's no me time. It's all kids, baby, cook food. It's all that. So right before I go to that, I've got an hour where I can spend training, and that's sacred for me. So you all should do the same thing. If you're going to be a remote rock star with your calendar, you should definitely find a way to block off time for you to make yourself better, and especially if you're in a maker situation and you're trying to fight back the constant meetings.
Yeah, maybe
I have.
we need to. Sorry, Victor. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ron.
No, I'm saying that maybe we need to clarify the concept of having a Google Calendar, because most of the team, or maybe most of the team could think that it's just for meetings. So, for
I don't know.
example, I never put like the pairing sessions in the calendar. So maybe it's look like I'm free, but I
right.
need time to be focused on something, and I always got meetings I have meetings, maybe one at 9, then another at 10, then another at 2, and then another at 4. So it's very hard to find a time to be focused, like just 4 hours focused in that thing that you need to finish. So that's very hard. So you say that it's good to put your own schedule in the calendar. So that's something that we can improve, like put
Oh yeah.
our main task also in the calendar, not just meetings.
I would totally suggest that, Renee, especially in your situation. I would get with your pairing partner, your other developer, and pick a time when you both think that you all can focus 100%, and program that into your schedule. Make a recurring. This is what happens every day, Monday through Friday, same
Yeah,
time.
that would be very helpful. As we're trying to schedule things for, especially with, our senior devs, if we've got to meet with the client, I assume that you're open. But if you're like, hey, that was really supposed to be my pair time, I'm like, oops, sorry, I don't know.
That that sounds like a good idea for a hackathon hack to create something that if you're inside of a hangout, after you finish the hangout, it creates you automatically an entry in the calendar, just in case you forget. But
Afterwards?
yeah, I mean, if we're having trouble doing it before, we should do it afterwards. At least, maybe, I don't know, just throwing ideas.
Maybe I can ask you. Yeah, let's develop that idea. Let's do an MVP and a landing page. Okay, so anything else to say about calendars before we move on?
Yeah.
Other thing is,
I want to add.
sorry,
The
Renee,
things I wanted to add is that. Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead, Rene.
no, I'm going to say that I noticed that some people didn't know how to check others' calendars.
Mm.
So it's very easy to just search other person and see what how is his day or her day. So I almost have all the people listed in my calendar, and I just want if I want to see how is his day, I just check his name, and it's very easy.
Y'all ready for a quick training?
All right, let's do this.
All right, so let's say I want a meeting with Renee. So I've got some time here at 12 p.m. So I'm going to go Renee, Byron, check in, and then I'm going to go to edit event, and so then I'm going to go ahead and add Renee right away using his Ackland Avenue email address, and then from here I can actually go to find a time, and oh wait a minute, I can't do that because the daily meeting for Blue Jedi is at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to and I only need 30 minutes, so I'm actually going to move this down one slot to 12:30. That way, it's between his daily meeting and lunch with the Northerners. So so then, boom, I can just click save and send, and now our meeting is scheduled. And if I were to do that with several others, oh my goodness, it really gets valuable. So we'll add Victor here, and we'll add Nathaniel. This will make this really interesting here. Richard. And so then I go back over to find a time. I've added them here. I go back over to find a time, and I find that I can't do line ball. I can't do 12:30 because Nathaniel and Victor are on line ball meetings. So I'm going to move it back up to 11:30. Well, easily I can see which day is or which time is available. So so that's powerful. That's very cool. And we all definitely need to know how to do that. But that's stuff for another training someday.
To tack onto that, Byron, if you're just looking at one person, you always have the capacity to bring up that person's entire calendar. Like sometimes your schedule is super busy, and if I'm just trying to get you, I'll just click on your calendar and see if you have an available slot.
Right. When I do that like this right here, right, with other calendars, and then I can say Deanna.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if I'm just looking for one person, especially you because you're busy, that's the approach I'll take. It's very quick. But definitely if I'm looking to find availability for several people, I'll go to the level of setting up the meeting and adding them and then checking.
Yeah.
I'd like to also add another tip so we take better advantage of Google Calendar as a tool. Sometimes the POs or the engagement managers have to schedule meetings on which we have to include the dev team, but we don't know the schedule of the customer. So something very smart that I have seen that Diana does, she places placeholders for meetings. Mm-hmm. So if we have to meet tomorrow with the client, but we don't know if it's going to be in the morning or the afternoon, I think it's very smart to just schedule those blocks of time as placeholders so that the team knows that, hey, I maybe should move the errands I was planning on doing tomorrow to some other time because we could have a potential meeting at this time.
Something else that I think we haven't discussed is that if you have a phone, it's a good idea to add your email to your phone so you get notifications. And also, if it's not an event, maybe it's something like a reminder. Google Calendar also has like reminders, and you still get like notifications on your phone. So it's pretty useful, at least to keep yourself up to date.
Victor, did you have anything else?
Yeah, two things. First of all, there's a feature Nathaniel uses that I found really useful lately. He has his office hours. His office hours configured somehow in his calendar. So when I try to schedule a meeting for him at 5, for example, I get a warning that he's not going to be available at that time, even though he doesn't have anything there. So that's something useful. And the other thing that's not directly related to the calendar, but to the people, it's being on time to the meetings and respecting other people's time. Make use of the reminders Google Calendar has in all the integrations we have with Slack, so we are actually on time to the meetings. I normally just wait like 2 minutes, for example, but I have been in the situation that I have to wait 5. He or she didn't show up and didn't leave any notification or anything.
Right. Yeah. The setting that you're talking about is right here in settings. And
Right.
you just go down to working hours, and it's pretty easy to configure.
One other thing while you're on that screen, Byron, in the top in the address bar, there's a little double-headed square right there. The far right.
Up.
Yep, to the right. There's a little square to the left of the star.
Oh, right there. Right
yes.
there.
When you click on that, it'll actually ask you, do you want to allow for notifications on your desktop?
Yeah.
That is really helpful for me because then it's
Cool.
a pop-up on my desktop that lets me know, just like notification for Windows or notification for Mac, pops up on my desktop and lets me know, hey, there's an appointment coming up.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good. And then one other thing along those same lines, I've got a training session with Gazzy tomorrow, and
Yes.
I've got notifications set, so I can do a notification at 10 minutes and 0 minutes, or I can do an email. I don't like to do the email because I don't check email. It's a really old technology. I try not to use it, but but it's there. I can do desktop notifications. I can, if I'm really bad at forgetting, I can set the reminder time a little closer. But yeah, I was actually going to suggest just keeping your browser open all day to the calendar. That's another way to make sure that you get those notifications too. Man, we got so many tips. So let's do a few more tools, and then we'll do a lightning round, and we'll call it a day. So, what are some other tools that we use as remote Rockstars?
Internet.
Internet?
That's
Oh.
not a physical tool, but
Deep. That's deep.
but it's a huge.
Serious business.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's probably a lot that we could say about internet too. So, but you said Trello, right, Richard?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's give Trello the treatment that we were giving the other ones. So how can we use Trello to its full potential as remote Rockstars?
Using comments with the @ symbol allows me to tag other users and let them know via message, via alerts, and via email that hey, there's something going on that you need to be aware of. And that's really useful in Trello when I need to ping someone.
Another thing I really like about Trello is, so Slack is awesome for chat, but Trello has an added element that I always wish that you could get from tools like Slack, but you almost can't. So Trello is an online Kanban board, and we've got like lots of small cards, and each card represents a thing that needs to be done. And another way to say that is each card represents a context. So you might be talking about ducks in one card, you might be talking about Mickey Mouse in another card. And if you're having a conversation about ducks, you can actually have a conversation in the Trello card, much like a chat. It's all archived there. It can go as long as much time as you want, and it's all contextualized right there in that card. And so then 5 months later, when it's time to build the duck, and you've had all this conversation before, you can go back to the card, and right there, it's all right there. All the chat is just right there, contextualized and historicalized. Archived part of history. And then over here you've got your Mickey Mouse card, and you've got all the context there. So it's awesome. What else?
So we talked about microphones, but I think the headsets are definitely something to be called out. Preferably ones with a boom mic, as opposed to having a mic that's near your mouth, as opposed to even the headsets that have the cables, makes a big difference. And that goes back to what you were talking about. It's about you, not about me. But the headsets and the wireless versus wired, I mean, that's a preference issue, but it sure makes life a little easier when you're wireless.
Yeah.
So
can't do this with a wire.
No, you can't.
It is nice.
Yeah.
The headset is definitely a big thing. It really does separate you from the pack if you sound as good as you can And also it's nice because you don't have to nobody has to deal with all that horrible background noise, especially if we have a lot of background noise. Look, we got 6 people on this call right now. There's a little bit of background noise, but it's nothing like horrible. And really, with as many people on this call, we should have a lot of freaking background noise, and it's just not there. Good job. We sound great. One other thing I'll say about Trello is that Trello also has desktop notifications. And so having those desktop notifications turned on for Trello is pretty big too, because then you get those toaster notifications that just kind of roll down your screen. Yep. What else? What other tools do we use to make us remote rock stars?
Telephone. I know that for me, sometimes telephone it's a great fallback, oftentimes analog, but when I'm, like today, we had a client that was driving in the car, and we were doing a video session, and I'm like, you know what, tell you what, let me just call you, or, no, it was, that's right, they couldn't get their phone to, the audio to work on their computer. They couldn't get the audio to work on their computer, so I just called their desk. I've got their phone number. Hangouts allows me to integrate those calls right into Hangouts, and I can also tell the team, hey, conference me into the meeting. Call this number. And I'm not running up huge data bills, and I don't have to worry about whether I'm going through a dead zone on the data side, because it's an analog voice signal.
Yeah. And I love using phone as a backup, which I do pretty often. Also, I use my phone as backup for data, so I'll tether my laptop sometimes.
Yes.
Or if I'm just out and about, as we often are being remote workers, I'll check in on my phone for emails, Slack messages, and whatever else that I can accommodate via from our tools that I can use on the phone. So I would say, yeah, the phone, in addition to my laptop, is the next most used thing for me.
And all the tools that we've mentioned, I think bar none, are available as apps.
Yeah. Agreed. Mm-hmm.
I'll refer back to something Renee said. I kind of jokingly brushed it off, but it's actually a very true tool that must master, and not everybody is really able to master this as a remote person, and that's the internet. If everything is fine, then your internet is working great at your house, and you're able to be on calls, and you don't have bandwidth issues, and like Carlos right now is having bandwidth issues in his house. Sometimes we can't control what happens with the internet, and things just happen. We end up relocating. We'll go to another place, and what if you go to Denny's? You're expecting Denny's to have great internet. Well, what if that day it doesn't have great internet? I used to have to deal with this all the time. Back before I had this office where I am now, I actually had to go remotely and work and just find the internet where I could find it. And most of the time I had to fall back to tethering on my cell phone, and it's important to be able to do that. With my phone I can just plug in the lightning cable and all of a sudden it's tethering internet. And yeah, I'm paying for it, but hopefully it's not something that I have to do often. So it's not an expense that I have to incur often. But super important to be a master of that and have those backups. Not just another place to go to, but another way to connect.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's something else that I don't know if everyone uses it, but for example, if I lose connection, internet, and stuff like that, and let's say my data plan expired or something, I usually call the person I'm in the meeting and say, hey man, I'm having issues. Just know that I care and that I'll be in a few minutes back. So that's something that I do. I don't know if it's useful, but I usually do it. And
it's useful.
That's
useful. I remember one time somebody was working on something, and it was pretty important, and we didn't know whether or not what was happening on this thing, and so for the entire day, like for 8 hours, we're wondering, where is this person? What happened? And we found out later on that yeah, he was working on the thing the whole day, and he was able to finish it by the end of the day, but his internet was down, but nobody knew. And so the whole day we're like, well, should we be worried? Should we send somebody out to his house to see if he's okay? But yeah, I appreciate what you just said, Richard. It's part of being a remote rock star is knowing when to reach out and just show that you care, that show that you acknowledge that the other people are looking to you, waiting for something, or just so that they don't send out search parties looking for you.
Right. Sending a text saves a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm. Might even save lives, because if you make me get out on the roads and drive around trying to find you, I might die. It'd be better just to send me a text.
That's tragic.
Especially driving in Tegucigalpa.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, well, that's the end of our time. Let's do a lightning round. And so the question for today is, what advice do you have for an aspiring remote rock star? Ready, Richard?
Good microphone.
Renee?
Always have a plan B.
Nathaniel?
Always think about the other person first.
Deanna?
I got nothing. I agree with those three.
You can say pass. Richard?
Put your camera on.
Renee?
Be very communicative.
Nathaniel?
Always look at the camera.
Deanna?
Pass.
Richard?
Pass.
Renee?
I will not pass. You need to have a good internet.
Nathaniel?
Smile. Someone's watching.
Deanna?
Use the record feature for client meetings that you want to remember.
Renee? Richard.
I don't know. Pass.
Renee?
Pass right now.
Nathaniel?
I'm going to pass.
Deanna?
Remember, Google Hangouts has a limit of 10 people, so if you're having a meeting with more, you're going to need to use something else.
Yep. Or kick people out.
Yep.
Richard?
Use, I don't know, pass.
Renee?
Pass.
Nathaniel?
I want to say, use the mute button occasionally as needed.
Jesus. Yep. Deanna?
To accommodate a larger group, much like we're doing on this meeting, you can have a small panel of people that will be interacting, and then you can share the video on YouTube for a greater audience to be able to view. So just tacking on to what we're doing here today.
Yep. Richard?
Pass.
Renee?
Don't eat in front of the camera. That's something.
I love eating in front of the camera. Nathaniel?
Make sure that nothing else on the network is hogging bandwidth.
Deanna?
During a very tense meeting, it helps if you can hold up a small dog or a cat. Everyone will be distracted.
Don't strangle them.
Richard?
No, not that. It's to diffuse the situation.
Occasionally go out and have like a different view for people to view different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Renee?
Keep your calendar updated.
Nathaniel?
Pass.
I'm going to throw one in there. Be willing to go to strange places and do your work from other places than the same place you always do. Deanna?
I like that one. Take advantage of your ability to be remote. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Also, it's okay to turn your camera off temporarily while you're eating a snack. No one wants to see that.
Yeah. Richard?
Just to go deeper on that one, not necessarily outside of your home. You can go outside in your same home or in the kitchen or something like that.
Yeah. I used to call it destination programming because I would take pictures of my setup every time I'd go to a place. I used to go to all sorts of different parks in around Tegucigalpa, different coffee shops, just tethering all the time. Renee?
Try to buy a good headset.
Nathaniel?
Pass.
Deanna?
If you have the option stand, you'll find you get more energy after you start taking meetings standing up instead of sitting down for a while.
Yeah. All right. Richard?
Get to
Standing.
meetings on time.
Okay. Renee?
Pass.
Nathaniel?
I'm good. Pass.
Deanna?
I'm out.
Richard?
Hello. Pass.
Renee?
Pass.
Nathaniel?
Pass.
Deanna?
Pass.
Y'all have a great day. Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.